The First World War, which lasted from 1914 to 1918, is often remembered for its immense loss of life, destruction, and suffering. However, despite the tragedy, the war also led to a range of positive changes that shaped the 20th century and beyond. These outcomes affected politics, economics, social structures, technology, and international relations. This essay explores the positive effects of World War I, illustrating how these seemingly destructive events laid the groundwork for major developments in various fields. One of the most significant positive outcomes of World War I was the rapid advancement of technology. The war spurred innovation in fields such as aviation, medicine, communications, and weaponry. Airplanes, which were initially used for reconnaissance, evolved during the war into more advanced aircraft capable of engaging in dogfights and bombing missions. The development of these aircraft contributed to the growth of the aviation industry in the post-war era. Medical advancements were also critical. The challenges posed by battlefield injuries and diseases led to breakthroughs in surgical techniques, infection control, and the development of new treatments like antiseptics and blood transfusion techniques. These innovations would go on to save countless lives in civilian medical care after the war. Communications technology also advanced. Wireless radio systems became more efficient and widespread, helping to lay the groundwork for modern communication networks. The war saw the mass production of vehicles and innovations in industrial processes, which later influenced civilian industries. These technological leaps would not have occurred as rapidly without the urgency and demands of war. The war led to the downfall of several autocratic regimes, particularly in Europe. The Russian Empire collapsed in 1917, leading to the Bolshevik Revolution and the formation of the Soviet Union. The Austro-Hungarian Empire and the Ottoman Empire also disintegrated, resulting in the creation of new nation-states, especially in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. These changes, though often chaotic, represented the decline of imperial rule and the emergence of new political orders. In many countries, the war also encouraged democratic reforms. In Britain, for instance, the Representation of the People Act of 1918 was passed, extending voting rights to women over the age of 30 and nearly all men. This marked a significant step toward universal suffrage. Similarly, the war fostered movements for self-determination, inspiring colonies and territories to push for independence. The war created a global dialogue about governance and the rights of nations, themes that would echo throughout the 20th century. The immediate economic impact of World War I was devastating for many countries, with high levels of debt and inflation. Yet, the war also led to significant industrial growth in the long term. Industries such as steel production, chemical industries, and the manufacture of munitions, which expanded or were created to meet the needs of the war effort, continued to thrive afterward. Particularly, the United States, which had become a major arms supplier, experienced a substantial industrial boom. The war accelerated the shift from agrarian economies to industrial ones in Europe and North America. Mobilization of resources, including labor and materials, for the war effort fostered greater efficiency in production techniques. Innovations like assembly line production emerged, revolutionizing consumer industries in the ensuing post-war period. The focus on war-related industries provided new opportunities for workers, especially women, who entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers. Post-war, many of these women continued to work, reshaping the global economy and leading to greater gender equality in the workforce. The social structure of many societies was irrevocably altered by World War I. One of the most notable changes was the role of women in society. As men left to fight, women filled their roles in factories, offices, and even traditionally male-dominated fields such as medicine and engineering. This shift was particularly evident in Britain, France, and the United States. Although women had already been fighting for greater rights before the war, their contributions during the conflict accelerated the cause of women's suffrage. Many countries, including Britain and the United States, granted women the right to vote shortly after the war ended. This marked a significant step toward gender equality and transformed the social landscape of the 20th century. Additionally, the war exposed deep class divides in many societies. Soldiers from different social backgrounds fought side by side, helping to break down some of the rigid class structures in countries like Britain and France. This, in turn, contributed to a push for social reforms after the war, including better working conditions, education, and housing. World War I catalyzed many lasting positive effects, notably the establishment of international organizations aimed at preventing future conflicts. Among these, the League of Nations was the most notable, formed in 1920 as part of the Treaty of Versailles. Although the League was not ultimately successful in preventing World War II, it laid the foundation for later international institutions, most prominently the United Nations. The concept of collective security and diplomacy as a means of resolving international disputes gained significant traction after the war. The League of Nations, despite struggling due to the absence of major powers like the United States, marked the beginning of a shift from traditional power politics to more cooperative approaches to global governance. Additionally, World War I spurred discussions around disarmament and arms control, influencing various international agreements aimed at reducing the risk of future conflicts. These ideas were crucial in shaping post-World War II diplomacy and the international system that emerged. The war had a profound impact on culture and the arts. The horrors of the war and the subsequent disillusionment inspired new artistic and literary movements, such as modernism, Dadaism, and surrealism. Writers, poets, painters, and filmmakers sought to express the trauma of the war and the pervasive sense of alienation that many people felt in its aftermath. This cultural transformation extended beyond the arts, influencing intellectual thought and philosophy. Thinkers like Sigmund Freud and Karl Marx gained greater prominence as people began to question traditional values, religious beliefs, and the established social order. This critical reflection spurred the development of new ideas in psychology, sociology, and political theory, which continued to shape society long after the war. While World War I was undoubtedly a devastating conflict, it also acted as a catalyst for significant positive changes. Technological advancements, political reforms, economic growth, social change, and the establishment of international institutions were all byproducts of the war. The conflict forced societies to innovate, adapt, and rethink their structures, leading to progress in various fields. Although these changes came at a high cost, they helped to shape the modern world in ways that continue to be felt today. The legacy of World War I serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, human resilience and ingenuity can lead to positive outcomes.